All right. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to this month's Coffee with Your Peers. Going to kind of go through a quick recap of the conference. I don't know how many of you were there or if you're thinking about going in the future, but we had 178 agencies, both police, fire, DA, dispatch, huge number of different types of agencies, but 178 agencies from 17 different states. And the farthest peer team that came was from Guam. They sent a team and they were super involved, super engaged. I don't know if, hopefully if you were there, you got a chance to meet them. Super nice individuals and very passionate about what they do. And kind of I don't know, the culture there makes it sound like it was, things that we've probably dealt with years ago. They seem to be very like the wild, wild west still with a lot of things that they deal with. And there was over 700 people that attended. And so it was just a huge success. And a lot of that success is because of what you guys bring to the conference with all the networking and the engagement and all the passion you guys all bring. So we started this Coffee with the Peers back in October. This is our second edition. We will be trying to do this monthly through 2022. And what we wanted to do this month was kind of focus our topic on the team that won the PSPSA 2021 Meritorious Service Peer Support Team Award. That's quite a handful. Is that written on the whole trophy? That's a long, you need a big trophy to read all that. And this year we had a lot of great nominees from all over the country. And we're going to try and hit most of those over the next few months. Today, we're going to focus on the winner, which is Fresno Police Officers Association. And then next month, we're going to focus on, give you kind of a heads up of what we're doing next month. Let's see. Next month, we're going to we're going to bring somebody in from the United States Marshal Service, their critical incident response team from Arlington, Virginia. So they'll be on next month to talk about what they're doing back on the East Coast. So we're really trying to diversify and bring in a lot of different people. Last month was Fire from Miami. This month is Fresno PD from California, and then next month we'll be in Arlington, Virginia. So let's just get right to it, and let's hear what Jesus and Mike have to say. If you were at the conference and you had a chance to see the award been given out, you probably know some of the story. But really, I want to do an introduction and really let Mike and Jesus do the majority of their introductions because they can obviously tell the story a lot better than I can. And then get as personal as you are comfortable with. And then if you guys have questions, you can write them down and ask them later. If it's something that you think that the whole group could benefit from, you can throw it in the chat. You can raise your hand. You can flag us down. If there is no format, so if you have something you want to say, just say it. And or if you want to write it down and then hit questions up at near the end, that'd be good as well. So I'm assuming it's the same on every computer, but if you're looking at the screen and you see Mike and Jesus, Mike is on the left, right? Raise your hand, Mike. There. Okay, so that's Mike on the left. 17 years with Fresno PD. He's been part of the peer team for over 8 years, and he's the current chairman for the Fresno Police Officer Association Companion Officer Program. So that's kind of the one question that I want to throw out there is, what how did you come up with that term, and what is that different between that and like what most of us would call a peer team? So kind of put that in your notes of things to kind of answer. And next to him on our right, I guess it would be Mike's left, our right, is Jesus. And Jesus is an 18-year veteran with the PD, and probably the only person I've ever met that was actually born, raised, and still lives in Fresno. I'm sure that's to be a Fresno native must be pretty cool.
Same here.
What's that?
Same here.
Oh, wow. All right. So now we got two people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And before joining the police department, Jesus was in the Army for 6 years. Thank you for your service, Jesus. And currently on the City of Fresno's Health and Welfare Board of Trustees, and an executive board member of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. So both of you guys are real busy, and from what I've learned from talking with you so far, the passion that you have for taking care of your fellow officers is tremendous. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to you guys and take it over.
Want to go first?
Well, thanks, Tony. I guess the best way to describe mine and Jesus's relationship is we've worked together on and off since we both started. When I got released from training, I got released to Midnights. He was there. We instantly became friends. We've done some TAC team stuff together, went different directions, and then ended up coming back to Midnights. And he was already a member of our peer support program, and he talked me into joining, which I started going to different critical incidents with him at night, and enjoyed what I did, the passion for it, and then I dove in head first. My wife is also, and we'll explain a little bit later, she's also involved as far as our spouse team goes. Our program started in 1993 as a part of the department. In 1998, our association took it over. And ever since then, they've been the main provider of our financial and logistical support. Over the years, as you all know, we respond to critical incidents 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You get that kind of core group of people that you can rely on to respond to everything. So in 2019, our previous vice president of our association was the chairman, and we decided to go ahead and revamp our program. So we had everybody fill out surveys. They applied. We re-interviewed everybody. As you well know, you kind of have to have some street cred to go along with people being willing to talk to you. So there were some people that were turned down, but we also created we had sergeants. We got sergeants involved because sergeants are involved in critical incidents. We had a lieutenant who is now a captain, went through the interview process, and we also have a deputy chief that is an advisor for us, and he insisted on going through the entire process and being interviewed. So we can really lean on him when we need some things done in a hurry. We can give him a call, and it gives us a direct contact to get some stuff done. Our group includes both patrol and detectives. We brought in dispatchers. We have crime scene technicians. We started a retiree group. We also have a spouse team, which we'll get into. We have a core group of 5 officers, a dispatcher, and a spouse team member that we meet regularly to discuss the program, how we're doing on incidents, what kind of trainings would we like to bring in, and which direction we want to go down the road. And it's worked very well. We're up to we just picked up 4 more, and we're up to about 44 of our peer support people. You asked Tony why the companion officer program. We're cops, COP. That's why it's called the companion officer program. So it's peer support, but that explains that.
That's not, I like it.
Yeah.
How many members do you guys have, sworn and non-sworn?
We have about 1,100 total.
Wow. Okay. And then do you guys take records of like contacts? How many contacts do you guys typically get in a month?
Well, we do quarterly reports. And as far as contacts goes, we go We're averaging about, I don't know, 500, 600 contacts in a quarter. And that's by, person to person. And then phone calls are, I think, a little bit more, about 800 or so, 900 roughly per quarter.
A very active team. That's great. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Mhm.
You want to explain that?
So with the wellness center, so I'm one of the leaders of the companion officer program. I suckered Mike into joining and helping out. And then I took a position within the department, and that position is called Employee Services Coordinator. So basically it's the department's version of peer support. But the problem is that it's only a unit of one. So they gave me a small office, which is located in the headquarters area. And so I took it over from an officer that retired. And the problem I started seeing is I was getting busy, and I actually had a line outside my door, which was a problem because, people don't want to know. People don't want anyone to know their business, why they're coming to my office and just to talk or whatever. So it became a problem. I started thinking we need a bigger place. So I created a proposal just to move out of the building to get off site. And I didn't have an idea as to where, but I started working on that. And then I talked to an agency back east, Fairfax County. And so they had an idea of bringing fire and police together, but it didn't work. I guess relationships were a problem for that area. So with our department, we do all the debriefings, all the critical incident debriefings as a multi-agency supportive group. So we bring in fire, EMS, court, whoever's involved in this call all together. So we started building relationships pretty early. So the fact that we had a good relationship with our fire really helped out with this, adding the fire department into our wellness center proposal. So now we have both departments. We need a facility. So one of our district stations became available, which is what we're in now. And where Mike says I strong arm a council member to give us a building, I literally cornered him in an office and gave him the idea, and this is what we need to do. So he was very supportive, and we started working on remodeling this place. So since we've been here, so we created a safe place for our members to come and talk without anybody knowing. We have a gas station here at our station because it used to be a police station. So we have people coming and going all the time. And we have two separate portions. We have a portion that's open 24/7 and available to anybody, which is just a report writing room, break room, and a gym. When we are in the office during the day, during the week, then we have the other side of the building open, unless we have somebody that's going to come in and talk. We are completely secluded if we need to be. We make this whole side confidential. No one's allowed in and out unless, if we're talking to somebody. So we kind of protect whoever's coming in. So we applied for that LEMWA grant. We got, this is our second one that we've gotten. And in that grant, I put in the proposal to hire a clinician part-time to be housed out of our center. So we're currently in the process of implementing that. Right now, we're just working on logistics, but it's already starting. They're already seeing people. And the crazy thing, that clinician is already full. So now I'm thinking we need probably more. So I don't know what we're going to do. Anyhow, so the Wellness Center, we hold all of our debriefings here. We help other agencies create peer support programs. We train them here. We do orientations for new officers that are hired, new dispatchers, new employees, anybody that's hired here. They come through our center and we give them the lowdown of what this place does. We also train newly promoted supervisors on what to do in critical incidents. Not the police, they know how to handle the police job. It's more of how to support their people that are involved in these critical incidences. So we train them on being observant and notifying us when something happens so that we can come out and help them out. As well as we train them to recognize any issues that are going on with their officers just throughout the year. You know, if officers have something going on at home, relationship or whatever, they're trained to recognize the change in behavior, and then we start working. They'll provide a referral to us, and we start working on that officer to hopefully catch them before things get really bad. Let's see. We do all mental health related meetings and seminars here. We also hold a meeting for the Central Valley Peer Support Summit. So in our county, we have someone from every agency, you know, Fresno PD, Clovis, the Sheriff's Department, CHP, CAL FIRE, and the fire departments as well. And we formed this committee and we started doing peer support summits. So right now we're on our 3rd annual coming up next month. So we do all those meetings here, which was good. We build bridges with all these departments. So when something happens and it's a multi-agency response, we already have contact info on who may need help and who to contact for help, you know. So that's been a great thing for us. We've also made this building available for anybody that needs it, you know. So we have like CAL FIRE and CHP and the Sheriff's Department. They were involved in incidences where Fresno PD was not, and they came and used our facility for their critical incident stuff as well. So it's been a great multi-agency program, and that's the purpose of it. It's not just for our department or our city; it's for anybody that needs it. So when we had our grand opening, I told our mayor, "Why do we have just a Fresno PD and fire department program? Why don't we have a program that helps the entire city, all city employees?" Well, we noticed with our transportation division, they see a lot of stuff. I think they utilize the mental health services more than PD. So anyways, I threw that in their court, and maybe we'll expand our program that encompass the entire city. But you know, that's down the road. We'll see. So currently we're working on moving that clinician that we just hired into our center so that we can get things going here. We're still managing our LIMWA grants, so we bring training in using those grants, which has been really cool. We're also working on the support animal program with the help of some folks that we met down in San Diego. We're going through Canine Companion International. See how that goes. So, and then we're also working on an annual, like a mandatory mental health checkup for all of our members. You know, I've mentioned it to a few people, and some are like, "Yeah, that's a great idea," and some of those officers are, "It's stupid. We don't need that crap." And honestly, I think if they have that reaction, they probably need it the most. But what better way to go see somebody if you're voluntold? You know, that gives you an excuse to say, I got to go do this, you know, annual meeting again, and you know, I'm not going to talk to anybody, but I'm just going to sit there for an hour. Whatever their excuse is, but that's what they want to tell people. That's great, but we're getting them in front of a clinician. So that's the plan in the near future. So we've had a lot of fun here. We've had a lot of people come through, and I can't say that we're writing the book on it, because really we haven't done anything different. We're still helping people the same way everyone else is. We just have a good relationship with our fire department, so it worked for us. I know there's some questions out there. I see some people writing.
Oh, great stuff. Thanks for sharing all that. Yeah, the amount of people that you're touching, not only within your own agency, but across the county, is amazing.
Mhm.
The grant that you were talking about, what's it called?
So that's it's through COPS DOJ, the Law Enforcement Mental Health Wellness Act grant. The first one we got was 2020, I believe. And that was, you know, for us to bring in training. I was able to hire a cadet for the wellness center. full-time. So we kind of threw some things in there that was well-rounded, you know. But the main focus was to bring training to our department and make it available to anybody in the area that wanted to go for free. And then the second one that we got was last year. The main focus of that one was to hire a clinician part-time for 2 years. Well, we were fortunate enough that we got that grant, but we also got a donation from one of our companies here in town that pretty much matched the grant. So now we have either money for 4 years for part-time clinician, or we have money for 2 years for full-time. So we're still working on that logistics to see which is going to be better, because the goal is to have the city pick up the tab in a couple of years. Once we could show them the value of this program, we're hoping that they pick it up in the budget.
And this private donor was huge. They initially came out and took a tour of the building, and they were asking us, what can we do to help? We want to be involved. And they found out that when we first moved into this building back in the end of January, first part of February, Jesus and I were supplying, we've got 2 different break rooms, one for the confidential side and then the 24-hour side. Jesus and I are spending about $400 or $500 a month out of our own pockets to supply the rooms with snacks and coffee and drinks and stuff. So they immediately wrote us a check for $10,000 to take the burden off of us for a while. And then Jesus approached them about this part-time clinician, and they wrote us another check for $86,000 to pay for a part-time clinician for 2 years. So they're huge partners of ours, great people. I know one of the other things that we haven't really touched on yet was COVID, just like with everybody. Jesus was in the office by himself, and then COVID hit, and he started to drown in work, which he was already drowning in work, but we were able to use it as an excuse. He went directly, back then we reported directly to a deputy chief, and she brought me in to start working with him full-time on a temporary basis. And I've been here 1.5 years since. So
actually it was April 1st.
It was April 1st. So I was in briefing when he called me, and obviously I thought he was playing a joke on me, and I didn't believe him. He actually had to screenshot the text message and send it to me to get me to buy in on his joke. But with COVID, one of the things that we did through the association was our previous president and vice president were able to make arrangements with Costco, Sam's Club, a couple other places. We bought pallets of sanitizer and hand wipes and PPE stuff. And what we did was we started going out to all of our people that were out quarantined. We were putting together packets for their family and for their household while they were off quarantine, whether they were sick themselves, whether they were exposed in quarantine. And we were delivering these packets throughout. And we have cops that live 1.5 hours away. So we were delivering these packets through COVID to all of these different people to help take care of them. Our spouse team, we have one spouse that's on our core group, and there's about 5 spouses that reach out to help. They create meal trains. We had to be very careful when we created this team, because we didn't want officers to think that we were getting a hold of your spouse to check on you and make sure you were okay, not trying to backdoor you, basically. We wanted them to realize that we're just there to help. We're there to take a little bit of the burden off. They need somebody to talk to. Do they need a ride to the doctor? They need somebody to sit with them at the doctor. You need us to watch the kids while you go to the doctor.
Well, they also have questions. Is this normal for my husband to ignore me, or whatever it was? So when we did that, it was like, well, we're just trying to give your wife a support system, because they need to understand how to deal with you when you come home from that critical incident. And that was how he sold it. And then it was a question is, well, why am I going to give you my wife's info? Guy girl thing, right? So how it works is I get that info and I just give it to the spouse team leader, and I direct them, call the wife, here's the info. But all communication goes through our spouse team leader. So if the wife has a question for me, which they probably won't, but if they do, they go through the spouse leader. The leader will contact me. So we had to make sure we kept a very, very clean optic, just for that nature. We didn't want we didn't want the officers to feel uncomfortable with another male officer calling their wife, to check on them. It just didn't seem right. So.
You want to talk about I know one thing that you had mentioned, Tony, was you wanted us to talk about possibly an incident that we had gone through and something that we may or may not have learned from that incident. We had a retired captain that had gone on to be a chief someplace else, but then retired from there, was back in town, going through some severe mental illness. So we ended up with a call for service at the house where he had attempted suicide. He had cut himself pretty severely. It was during day shift. The day shift officers responded to this. These were officers that knew him personally, had worked for him and with him. One of the officers had a brand new trainee, and they were calling out to him by his first name, trying to get him to drop the knife. And he ultimately picked out and singled out the trainee and charged the trainee, forcing the trainee to respond. Because we're assuming it's because he did not know that trainee. The dynamics there was not only did we have our officers on scene that we had to deal with that were involved in a critical incident. They all knew him. They all worked for him. We also had staff that responds to an OIS after the fact, all knew him, all worked with him. So we had to get the training officer was close to him. We ended up we got that training officer into a counselor that evening. Prior to interviews, prior to debriefing, prior to anything, we got him into a counselor that evening. But we ended up doing two separate critical incident debriefings, one for the people that were involved in the incident, and then Jesus facilitated another one for the staff members after the fact.
I talked to our chief, who at the time was Jerry Dyer, and I asked him, I said, "Hey, chief, you think it'd be a good idea if we do a debriefing just for staff?" He said, "Absolutely, go ahead and plan it." So what we did was we brought all the executive level staff into a room, and we gave them an opportunity to talk about, the deceased officer, and kind of get their feelings out in a safe way. And so basically it was a modified debriefing, but we went through it just with staff because these staff members are not going to talk with officers present. Fortunately, I had the relationship with executive staff because of the position that I was able to do this. So it worked out. So what we learned was it's not just the officers involved that were affected, but it really affected everybody in the department. So we just had to respond in different ways.
That also made us realize that we needed to get a better retiree component involved in our peer support program, which we did. We have probably about 7 or 8 retirees, because retirees throughout the week, they have their groups that meet for coffee or lunch or whatnot. And so now we've got retirees out there. When we get word of somebody that's having some troubles, we can put a retiree, say, "Hey, you want to give them a call?" Because they used to work together 20, 25, 30 years ago. And so you can contact them and talk to them. And it's a friendship that was from before, but now, what do we need? What do you need from us to help you help them? So that was another portion of our revamp in 2019 that we did. And that's what we had learned. One of the things we learned from that incident was we need to do a better job of getting our retirees involved and out there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of on the with your clinician, are they approved to see spouses and retirees, or is it just employees?
They will see whoever we send to them.
Oh, nice.
So the basis of it is we pay the salary, so we don't have to worry about billable hours, and they just basically work for us. So we send them somebody, and that's who they see.
Okay. And obviously you feel they're culturally competent. What kind of would you put them through to kind of convince yourself that they were culturally competent and able to see your officers?
So this particular clinician, she is actually, I guess she's writing the job description, so to speak. She's been with our resiliency center to the chaplaincy as a clinician for quite some time. She's been a clinician for probably 30 years, I don't know, long time. And she's also married to a police sergeant.
So she has intimate knowledge.
She's lived it.
She knows.
Yeah.
And he's not an easy man to talk to. So yeah, he's a good guy. But she is the one that's establishing what's needed, what the job entails, and basically who's going to be the right person. So when we get to that point when she leaves, you know, I think part of the biggest issue we're going to have is are they culturally competent? What's their angle? You know, what's their drive? So I think we're just going to put them through a series of very touchy questions. We actually met with one the other day, and it wasn't an interview, but this person reached out to us and wanted to talk, and so let's talk and see, you know, what's your motive. But one of the questions I hit her with was, you're a clinician, and we just had a George Floyd incident happen, and now I got to send you that officer to talk to. You know, what's your feeling? So what's your take on that George Floyd incident? And so she gave her opinion, and then said, you know, I've got to separate that from my job. My job is to help the person. I don't care what the issue was. I just want to get them help, and they are my client. So my opinion of what they did it's not relevant. It doesn't matter. So things like that is how I'm going to approach the questions. Is get their opinion, and then kind of see where they're at when it comes to seeing somebody and separating their opinion from that.
Yes, it's sometimes it's a challenge to find culturally competent clinicians, and some say that they are if there aren't, and then there's others that just naturally are, and they're afraid to even, they're too humble to say, yeah, I get this. But finding those clinicians that have a spouse as a first responder truly helps. But yeah, great work.
Yeah, there's a lot of clinicians out there that are great. We have a lot of great ones. We just don't have enough great ones. You know, we need more. That's, you know, our clinician now, she's full. And if she sees somebody, because we send, you know, someone her way, because, you know, it's an emergency, and she's got to figure out how she's going to do it. But she's going to. It's just a matter of, you know, time. So it's been a challenge, but it's been very, very educational for us.
All right, great stuff. I have a couple of questions, but I'm going to wait on my questions and see. Are you guys ready for questions and answers?
Let's do it.
Okay. Does anybody have a question, comment, or anything they want to say? Please raise your hand. No one's had enough coffee out there. I can see that. Drink your coffee.
I have a question.
Uh,
Did you
go
say
ahead.
that your spots are funded by your association in your full-time, this is your full-time assignment?
So our current position with the department is a full-time position, paid. And we also volunteer our time with the association to run that program. So we do both.
And the good thing about that is the companion officer side or the peer support side is completely voluntary. But with both of us being able to work in this office together, and we're doing both sides of the peer support, basically with the department and with the association, it allows us to get a lot more things done here in the office. It gives us a little more, I don't want to say control over how we can take care of it from both angles, and the support
And then,
the association itself, Jesus and I are both on the board of directors for our association as well, because we don't have enough to do. But we also have a budget through the association that we utilize for the companion officer program every year. Two of our people that went to the conference this year, we sent through that budget. Jesus and I were through department funding, and we also use that to send them to different classes that we want to send them. If we find a class that we think is going to be really good, we'll send a few people to it. We use that to buy food for critical incidents and meetings and stuff like that. So,
and I think the benefit of being in this position with the department is we're privy to information, confidential information that we wouldn't get if we were just working the peer support team. So the fact that we have both, it makes it better. So when we get confidential information, it's a little bit easier to, hey, Mike, we need to go do this and handle it. So it's just a little bit easier for us.
I have a question. I think you just answered my question, but you said that you're privy to more information as having those full-time positions, the both of you. Does that mean that your relationship with HR is rather good? Because I find with our HR, we don't get information. We've asked for, as a peer support, I'm a peer support coordinator, but I also work in dispatch. So I'm not just the peer support coordinator like the two of you are, for lack of a better term to call it. How is that relationship with HR? When somebody goes out on IOD, are you made aware when somebody has a death in their family and for some reason HR should know because they have to take extended periods of time? Are you notified of that information?
Yes. So our chain of command is, so our deputy chief is the boss and he's over the administrative division. And then we have a captain that's over internal affairs, workers' comp, personnel, and then our lieutenant is actually the internal affairs lieutenant. And then we have a sergeant that's over workers' comp and our unit. So we're kind of together. So with workers' comp information, we get that information coming our way. From personnel, we get that information from our chain of command. And then like HR stuff, we actually have access to the HR program. So if we need to get something, we can go through HR, the HR's program and get it.
Nice.
we also get the LTA list. We're added to that list. We get that LTA list every week when we can check and see who's been added, who's not, reach out to them. We try to follow up as best as possible. Our LTA list right now is running about 95. So we try and reach out to all of those people. How are they doing? What do they need? And then like Jesus said, our old little tiny office was down a set of ramps below IA. So we kind of joked about it's kind of the walk of shame. They'd come out of IA and they'd just walk by our office and they'd walk in and go, hey, I need to talk. So yeah, a lot of people are reaching out to us, say, hey, you might want to check on so-and-so because this just happened.
We have commanders from other districts and other areas that'll call and say, hey, I just, took somebody who's got a badge. Here's their name. Can you please reach out and make sure they're okay? And, they don't share specific information. They just share the person's name and that they need contact. That's it.
That's all you need, because if
That's it.
you don't know what you don't know, and I feel like our peer support team just doesn't know. I mean, we get an email from the sheriff saying there may have been a death on the department, and then we know obviously to reach out to their family members, but I have no idea who's out on, even light duty can affect somebody for that matter. So they just don't share that information. It's very frustrating. It really is. So y'all are lucky. I'm jealous.
I did put my email address in the chat if anybody ever has any questions for us later. Please feel free to reach out.
Unmute, sorry. There's two questions in the chat, Jesus. Is your association, your union? And what's an LTA list?
So the association is our union. So Fresno Police Officer Association. It's a pretty good union, pretty strong. And the LTA list is a long-term absence list, which also includes COVID quarantine.
If people go out FMLA, you know, obviously here in California with CFRA and everything, we have baby bonding. So especially right now, we have a lot of people that are taking 2 weeks off because they don't qualify for vacation during the holidays. So they take FMLA to stay home with the family for the holidays for 2 weeks. So we get those people that are added to the list. It's a pretty extensive list because they all have to fall under it.
Okay. Yeah. Anybody else have questions?
Got a question. Two things. You guys mentioned that the Peer Support Summit is coming up. Can you give some details on that? And then also the training that you do with your supervisors to get them in line with supporting their officers. What does that look like and entail? Is that an hour-long thing or a week-long? What do you do?
So it depends on the group. Usually it's 2 hours. They already have the information on how to be a supervisor. Sorry, I'm looking for the summit dates. So with our supervisors, I give them a 2-hour training block on what we have. It's called the SAVE program. Structured assistance for valued employees. And that encompasses all the mental health issues that one may go through. So I give them all of that information to include the forms that may be needed to refer an officer into that program. And the basic knowledge of, you know, recognize your officers, get to know them when you first meet them. That's your baseline. And if it changes, then we need to know why, you know, or you need to know why. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? If it's a bad thing and they need help, let's get them in and get some help. And that system is essentially making the employee get help. It makes it mandatory. Our policy is very clear on you have to abide by this guideline. You have to go to this doctor and participate in the program. However, you don't have to talk when you get there. So we still, you know, we still have a line that we don't cross, but that's very important. And then the other thing that we give them is infection control information. Mike and I are the designated infection control officers for the department. So we teach them on bloodborne pathogens, how to look for things, what to look for, symptoms, and then what to do if there's an exposure. And all they do is notify us and we come out and deal with it. Oh, and then the Peer Support Summit. It's March 24th here in Fresno. My email is in the chat. So if you want more info on it, just send me an email and I'll send you a flyer. It's a $10 fee to get in there. And we have a limited 150 seats. So and they go pretty quick. So when we open it, it'll probably be beginning of February when we open the proceeding.
And is that summit open to team members, staff?
It's the primary focus of it is for peer support teams or peer supporters, but also it's good to have staff members go too, just so that they get some a little bit more knowledge and help them buy in more to their own programs and their agencies.
And kind of I'll piggyback a little bit on Aaron's question about your relationship with HR. Here in Santa Barbara County, we sent our HR person from that she works with fire department only, but works for the county of Santa Barbara as the human resources for fire. She went to the PSPSA conference 3 years ago. It blew her mind. She walked out of there going, I had no idea what goes on when you guys leave. And so that changed our whole relationship with the admin. You know, she's gone to PSPSA ever since. She's part of the peer support team now. She's part of the program. She gets that. So I don't know if you have anybody that's in that position, if you can get them to some sort of conference or even peer support training, or a meeting, get them involved so they do know that, hey, you know, when we ask for help, we truly need it, and we need it now. So good
Well,
stuff.
there was an agency that contacted us here, a small agency, and they didn't have anything. So we helped them build the program. And one of the things that I did with them was I actually sat down with their chief and just talked about it. We just had a conversation about peer support. And fortunately, that chief used to work for Fresno PD. So he kind of was aware of certain things, and he was all for it, you know, but it helped because it really, you know, they didn't know what was going on now and what was needed now. And it really helped them with building their team. So Aaron, if that's something you want to do, we can sit down and have a conversation. Yeah, I mean, if you're close by, I don't know where you're at in the country.
No, hey, Jesus and I love to travel, so don't. We've gone to Newport Beach for a 2-hour meeting and drove back. So.
Any other questions out there? Oh wait, let's see. Oh, Aaron. Okay. I don't know if you guys see Aaron's responses in the chat. Any other questions, comments before we start wrapping up? Okay, so 2 questions, and kind of this is, no one needs to answer it, but these are questions that have kind of come up in the last couple of weeks here with the peer support coalitions that I'm on. And the first one, you guys have addressed it, and that's doing the annual check-in. That seems to be a big deal right now. I think with COVID and with everything else that went on in the last couple of years, we've seen some peer support team members need peer support. We've seen peer support team members need to go to rehab because they're carrying, not only are they carrying their own load, but now they're carrying our load as well. So doing that check-in, I think, is huge. And Jesus, you were spot on when you said making it mandated makes it, okay, I got to go. Even though you'd like to go, you just wouldn't want to go voluntarily. So I think that you're going to see a lot more of that. And so my question to you guys was, will your clinical advisor, the one that you have on payroll, will she do those check-ins, or will it be one person or a team of people that would do that?
Well, that's a good question. I would want our clinical advisor to do it because you know, that person would have relationships already built, and she already have that knowledge when they see that person the next time. But the time is the issue. Is will she have the time for that? That's the problem. So I don't know how we're going to approach that if we need to designate someone else to do it. So I spoke with our EAP provider, who is Halcyon, and I made a deal with them. If we're able to get this through, that we can use a clinician under their umbrella and just solely do that, and they pay for it. So the, you know, we get so many visits a year, and if we use one of those visits, instead of having the department pay for it, having the officers, well, the officers shouldn't pay for it if it's mandatory, but instead of having the department who would be the one paying for it, using the already prepaid benefit would probably be the best financial decision, I think. So they were all for it. They said, yeah, if you're able to get it through, we'll work it out to where you use part of the benefit. Now the person is the one that's going to matter. It's, I think, needs to be the same person. So we're still going to have to figure out how we're going to do that. I haven't connected all the puzzle pieces on that one yet.
And the other thing is too, is, you know, with us having 1,100 civilian and sworn, we also need to have the clinician available if we need somebody right now, you know, so tying them up all day, every day it's going to be difficult because the goal is as well is to have one available if we have a critical incident and we need somebody. We've been able to work well with the chaplain's office, created a resiliency center. So they have a group of clinicians there. And we've been lucky in the fact that we have been able to literally drive somebody from our office over to the resiliency center and have them in talking to a clinician within an hour, hour and a half. So we want to be able to have that flexibility as well. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be had, but we'll see. Well, hopefully it'll work out in the end, and we can get some of them the help that they don't realize they need.
I didn't think our clinician would get full that quick. She's only been at it since November 1st, and she's full.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, one last request for questions, comments from anybody. Looking at the poll, does everybody see the poll? Anybody have a chance to take the poll? You did? Let's see how it comes out.
Tony, I don't think it worked. I received an error.
Yeah, I'm getting 0 response. Let's see, what if I hit end?
Yeah, I tried to submit it and it didn't give me the ability to submit it.
Huh. I'll have to figure out why. I'm gonna relaunch it. Yeah, this is good. Sorry, the first attempt. It looks good on my end, but great stuff. Mike and Jesus, thank you very much for sharing everything that you're doing. It's amazing work. You're reaching a lot of people. And, you know, hopefully everybody here can take at least one nugget away. I just did. And using the EAP for that annual check-in, using those monies, we're always looking at how do we use the EAP money to better serve our community of first responders. Brilliant idea. So that's probably one of the first things I'm going to do after New Year's is hit up our EAPs and see if we could utilize some of that for annual check-in, psychological check-ins. And really for us, we just want to start with our team, our peer support team. So we're not looking at doing the whole agencies, but at least working with our peer teams to make sure they're good and solid and able to take on more stress.
Tony, I think the challenge will be getting the associations and the department to agree to it as far as the terminology within that policy or however it's written. That's been one of my challenges, is finding a happy medium that everyone, okay, that's a great idea. Because, you know, somebody's going to have a complaint about verbiage or the fact that it's being done. And it's going to, for us, it's going to be uphill.
Yeah, and I think the biggest hurdle for us would be that there's very little confidence in our local EAPs. And the EAP is a city entity. So if some officer or firefighter was to say that they were having troubles, would it stay in that office or would it get leaked? So that's kind of been our issue with the EAPs, is people just don't want to talk because they're too close to staff. So I don't know. That'd be I think that would be our biggest hurdle, is getting people to actually trust it.
Right.
So the poll's working now. So thank you for re-looking at it. 8 of 9 went to the PSPSA. Hope you guys enjoyed it. 2022 is already on the books for October 18th. And we had 3 people say that a wellness center. So I'm assuming one is Fresno. If there's anybody else that has a wellness center and you're willing to share that, that'd be great. And would you be interested in participating in one of these? Please either email me or put it in the chat so that I can reach out to you. But yeah, I'd love to get more diversity and getting more and more teams out there. And then really on the the opinion of what the main issues are, it's pretty much right down it's almost dead even, other than I think work-related stress and critical incident, traumatic incident is the big one. But there's not a single category in there that doesn't have at least 50% as part of that. So great stuff. I can't believe we like nailed it. It's exactly 1 hour. Mike and Jesus here, awesome. And thanks for sharing your emails. Thanks for being here. If anybody has any questions, you know, Jesus put his email in the chat. Please feel free to contact him. If you have any questions for me, or you would love to be part of the program coming up next year, please let me know. We'd love to include you. And with that, just kind of a quick check-in. You know, we're all peers. So one of the things I'd like to kind of leave with is, you know, check in with yourself, check in with each other. Self-care, holidays are coming. Take a moment to really smell the Christmas tree and taste the coffee. So just kind of a quick thumbs up. Everybody give me kind of a thumbs up, like I'm okay. Nice. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thanks for your participation, and we will see you hopefully next month.
Thank you, Tony.
Yeah. Thanks, Jesus. Thanks, Mike. You guys, if you need anything, let me know.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Will do.
Definitely.
Okay. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Take care,
Okay,
guys.
thanks.